Recording.
Yeah, when we started this tour, so Omri, who's a comic, he's an Israeli comic who toured with me. Mm-hmm. He was in the IDF, obviously, because they have to be for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. He was a failure of a soldier. He talks about it. He's a tiny, fat little Jew. He's completely worthless as a soldier. But he did like Krav Maga and MMA and Jiu-Jitsu. And then the third comic with us had done Jiu-Jitsu, and then I had done kickboxing, Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. So we like brought gear because our plan was, before this whole thing got derailed, we had all these things set up, and we were going to do a sparring match against each other and train at gyms. We ended up just, getting drunk and doing comedy the whole time. But we did one time drunkenly in Seattle. We had this one show where it was all hecklers, and so we roasted them. Yeah. And then we made best friends with them. And they put us up. This one guy put us up in his really nice apartment and just gave the apartment to us. He said, I'll stay with my girlfriend. So we just stayed at his apartment. So nice. So we all ended up like wrestling, and one of us tore the ACL. I didn't tear my ACL, so my buddy like tore his ACL. Everyone was like hammered, like, oh!
Yeah, that's exactly how that goes.
That's exactly how it goes. three boys. I think it takes like one little push, and everyone's like, "You won't fucking do this." Do you want to introduce yourself for the camera now that we started?
Sure. What's up, everybody? I'm Earnest Romero, San Luis Obispo comedian and producer.
What's the name of your show you produce?
It is You Had to Be There Comedy.
Very nice. And what's your Instagram handle?
I am Comedian Ernest.
Very easy. Very easy. Do you go by Ernest or Ernie?
Either one.
And now, because
Ernest is my legal government name, but Ernie, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
What do you like? What do you like more?
I really have no preference.
All right.
I usually leave it up to the user.
I'm going to go with Ernest because I don't think I know an Ernie or an Ernest. I'm going to stick with that. So we only met, I DM'd you a couple days ago. I've been in SLO for like a week. Very nice of you to respond so quickly. Pumped about this. But because we just met last night, I didn't realize till we were in the car ride. What's your day job?
I am a licensed private investigator. That's what I do for work.
But you don't do infidelity. You don't do divorces or cheating.
Yeah. As we talked about earlier, I don't do any kind of like cheating spouses or any of that stuff.
So what cases do you do?
Mainly, I do criminal defense.
Okay.
And like personal injury and wrongful death.
So attorneys, private practices hire you?
Yep, and I'll do some casework for the county because anytime that somebody's arrested and they're charged with a crime, they have the access to be able to, get representation. Yep. And sometimes though, because like every single major county and public defender's office is absolutely flooded, so they hire outside counsel and the counties will pay out of pocket, so they will get like private attorneys and private investigators, and we just do it for a much lower rate.
And you've been doing this for like 8 years?
Yeah.
How did you get into it?
A lot of family in the legal field. Like a lot of family were like attorneys and judges, and kind of grew up in my uncle's law office.
Okay.
I think my family wanted me to be attorneys. My dad wanted me to be a cop, but I was like, I'm not a cop.
No, you went in between the two.
Yeah, like I'll snitch a little bit on somebody, but not gonna go the full row.
Work. It's never worked. I've seen like one cop comedian and the crowd turns on you real quick. Yeah. Because you're like, I know they have a bad rap, guys, but sometimes the minorities need to be kept in check. And everyone's like, ah.
So listen, I was busting this guy's head.
I was beating the shit out of this black guy. Any black guys in here?
Yeah. Well, what they should do is they just go on a circuit and they only just do like police chiefs associations.
Easily.
And then they just murder
the whole time. You're just like, you guys ever get tired of beating the shit out of a homeless guy? And they're like, all of it, that's very relatable. That's very good humor. Your wife ever talk too much? No, we back the blue on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're both take all comers.
Blue, we've got it.
Yeah, I dressed her to the gym, and then we met up. I lost some lbs recently. Like I said, because my routine, I pivoted to CrossFit and powerlifting because I got so tired of regular lifting. I did it like my whole life, and I hated it. I started that like 3 years ago, and I love it. And then I hurt my knee briefly, and then like a month and a half ago, it just deteriorated. It just went away. No knee. It's just gone. And I was in New York, homeless.
Perfect.
Unhoused. I was staying at homes, but I didn't have a home. Thank you to all my friends who are comedians who let me stay in boiler rooms and couches. So, like, I was traveling everywhere all the time, and just destroying my knee in the summer heat. So now I'm getting back into it, but I have to go to Planet Fitness. I don't know if you've gone to Planet Fitness.
Yeah, I have a membership.
The worst place on planet Earth. Why do you keep going?
Because it's $25. It's $25, and when you're on the road constantly, you need to be a professional homeless person.
Exactly.
Even when I was I was played in bands too, and like the same thing. You get a Planet Fitness membership, so you can shower, you hit the gym, and you're good to go on the road.
I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Free Wi-Fi.
Dude, I don't know if you've seen the list of things to do if you're homeless. Like, it's like, all right, you know you're about to be homeless. The first bullet point is get a Planet Fitness membership.
Yep.
Get your Wi-Fi.
How are they not advertising that? They're just like, look.
It does say no judgment zone.
That is their mantra. It's in huge letters across every gym.
So you just walk in pajamas, eating breakfast on your laptop.
You're like, hey, can you guys calm down? I'm on a call right now for work.
Could you tell the tiny Zoomer boys to stop slamming the plates?
We need to do that though. Just show up in one.
Do a pod.
And you have no pants and just a professional shirt. You're just doing an interview, a Zoom interview.
You're like, yeah, I do. I'm great. Remote work I'm very comfortable with. That is why we did it, because when we were touring, it was the same thing. I just needed somewhere to shower. And because the three of us lived out of a car. And
3 of you?
Yes. It was going to be 2. And then I added a third. And then we ended up basically couch surfing a lot. Or if we could do it, we'd get a motel. But we had to be in the cheapest areas. So it was brutal. But the Planet Fitness, here's what I'll say about the Planet Fitness. My problem with it is I'm glad for people that aren't used to working out to get in there. No judgment zone. But you don't, the machines are so specific. You don't learn how to work out. You learn how to use their machines. And I've had more shoulder and elbow pain trying to use some of their push machines than I ever had with Olympic workouts. So I'm just going to say that. But thank you for the no judgment zone when you did let me shower and sit there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
What I kept doing, I would sit at the table and then look up and be like, pretending someone was going to come pick me up. No one was coming. I had nowhere to go.
Yeah. I mean, they got enough, dude. All you need is honestly dumbbells, a squat rack, and then somewhere to do some pull-ups.
I don't like the Smith machine. It's not good for you. Again, with the bench, it's the mechanics of it. Because with lifting, especially a bench or something, it's not a straight up motion. It's at more of an angle. So it just doesn't allow you to brace yourself. I hurt my biceps. This is such bad podcast material. Suck it up, fatties.
Yo, just be fucking bros. We're talking about lifting, dude.
I'm just all you fatties out there. But yeah, and also what I've found is the most commonly, the most sought after machine. What do you think the most sought after machine is? The Planet Fitness. What have you seen? Because I have an answer.
I mean, I haven't been there for that long, so I don't even know.
It is the pec fly machine.
Really?
The back, it can be the back machine or the pec fly machine, and it is the single most used machine. Old men love it, young men love it, women love it. I think it feels like you're getting a pump. It's not bad, but it's easy for people, and they're like, I'm getting a workout.
Yeah, this machine I understand. It's probably just the only machine they understand.
Exactly.
So they're just I'm just going to go there, pretend like I know what I'm doing.
Yep, sit down and I fucking clap.
Some of the machines are fucking weird, though. I'm sitting there doing a workout, and I'll just eye them, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What do you do on this thing? And I just wait, but no one ever uses it.
Yep.
And I'm too chicken shit, so I'm not going to go over there and be like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, again, you have to look at it I give myself a 4-second window of looking at it. If I can't figure it out, I leave because I'm too insecure. So I'll walk over and be like, I don't need it.
That's the way that goes.
But I do this because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Because it looks like, did you ever watch the Grinch cartoon?
Oh, yeah.
It looks like those things where they're riding and there's a ball that comes out. It's like, pop, pop, and then, there's a little guy pedaling it. This is for your glutes. All right. So Private Investigator, obviously can't go into specifics, but have you done exciting?
No, we can,
all right, well, hell yeah. Who's the worst? Name them.
All right, perfect. So, my worst client.
What kind of, have you done crazy things? Have you seen crazy stuff?
Oh,
have
yeah.
you gotten altercations?
All the time. I mean, not really a lot of altercations. I've had death threats before.
Sure.
But you're just sure.
I do a podcast. I've gotten DMs.
Listen, if you're on the internet, you're getting death threats.
1,000%. It happens the moment you make your profile. Is gay guys asking me if I'm bi?
we used to have MySpace. It was Tom. He was very nice.
1000%.
Now you just have some guy. His name's Eric. He just DMs you. I see you. I'm gonna fucking kill you as soon as you launch.
Thankfully, usually they're like, if you ever come through Tacoma, Utah, I'm like, I will never. Thank you for telling me.
If I ever find you in Little Rock, Arkansas,
you ever fucking swing through
dead.
my territory. So I have to. Anyways, all right. So you do crazy cases sometimes.
I mean, the craziest thing about this line of work, any single case that seems like the simplest thing, it can always turn into something very, very complex. And I think that's something that I really enjoy about the job itself, is that nothing is ever what it seems. I mean, you're really dealing with humans and the variable that is being a human being. We all have free will. We all have the ability to choose what we do. And you're trying to harness the chaos of a person and make sense out of it.
That is a really good way to put it. It's also very funny to put it, too, because you could be like, you have free will to do anything you do. And it's like, and this was the choice you made. You could have done anything, and you threw a brick through a window.
Yeah. I mean, you have those, too, where, so in, criminal defense, for instance, that's where it's like, somebody, they're involved with a crime, and they have the right to representation, so they can get an attorney and a private investigator to investigate their own case. Bring their own witnesses. And I mean, I've worked multiple cases where people were innocent, and it was wild. I mean, fucking wild to just see this entire team. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is that when you are accused of a crime, everybody hears these words and they say, you're innocent until proven guilty. But I'll tell you what, it does not fucking work that way at all. There's an entire team. You're talking about a DA. So there's a head DA, and then there's all these other deputy DAs. You're talking about 30 to maybe 100 attorneys, and that's depending on the size of the city or county. And then they have all their paralegals, they have all their staff, they have researchers, they have secretaries. Then you have an entire police department that's behind them as well. So that's talking about the chief, all of their staff, multiple police officers, detectives. And that's an entire team. And then the person who gets to prove that you are innocent is one attorney, defense attorney, and then me, one investigator. And we just go, all right, let's fucking do this.
They employ hundreds of people
on their team.
And then they also hired a comedian in a car.
That's it.
So they're like, I'd be like, I didn't murder my wife. I loved her to death. I made vows. Everyone knows I love my wife, and the cards are stacked against me. I don't have all the evidence I need. And then you're like, I have a spot at 10, but after that, I'll go check.
Well, listen, I know a little something about killing, all right?
I know something about bombing, too. Let me tell you what, your stage presence in the courtroom, not great. Open up with something self-deprecating.
You're going dark really quickly with this whole maybe I didn't or didn't murder. You know what I mean?
An open mic?
You gotta lead into that real soft.
You ever think about taking your witnesses to an open mic and having them just get up there, work on their stage presence a little bit?
That's the greatest podcast of all time. That's what that is. Just what do you call it? Death Row to...
Yeah. I saw this very avant-garde comedian who was talking about how he definitely didn't drown his child. Material was very bold.
No, that's fucking funny.
That's fascinating.
But yeah, man, no, it's a crazy space, and nothing is really at all what it seems. I can have the simplest cases, and then all of a sudden it just turns into the craziest story of all time. But it's you have certain things where, yeah, sometimes people are morons. So even in criminal defense, we have a thing that we call when somebody gets in trouble for drugs, and they get charged with something like drug trafficking, when they just have a large amount of drugs. They can be charged with drug trafficking, even if it's not a lot. They're not actually drug trafficking. They just have a lot of drugs on them.
Yep.
So then in criminal defense, we call this the defense that's used. It's called the Costco defense. And that's like a joke between like defense attorneys, but they'll say, yeah, it's the Costco defense. You're just like, no, Your Honor, my client was not selling all these drugs. He just likes to buy in bulk.
He's just thrifty.
Yeah, he's thrifty. He likes to buy in bulk, save some money, and use his drugs sparingly over a long period of time.
He's like, I'm well aware I'm going to be using crack every morning for the next 5 years.
Exactly.
And what do you think, I'm going to go down to the store every other day? I've got a job.
Yeah.
Smoking crack takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I got other things to do.
There's a strong chance I'm not going to have this insurance money any longer, so I need to go put it down on the crack today. I'm very fortunate that I got rear-ended.
Yeah. Somebody gave me $100 and now I gotta get my drugs.
Do you have a joke about the Costco defense in your act?
No.
I might work that out on an open mic. That's very funny.
Yeah.
The Costco defense is very...
I've thought about it a million times because I'm like, somehow I need to like work that into some material.
Yeah, I'll leave it because I'm not a PI, but that is that's a very funny outlet.
No, there's a million things in that space that I'm just like, it is funny. Like, it's funny, man. Like, even like, I've been in like murder trials and you have these witnesses who are just insane and they say crazy stuff. And even in where you can feel this tension in the air, I mean, you have an entire jury that's there. There's somebody's life on the line. Somebody's life's already been lost. Then this witness goes on the stand and he tells this story about how it was supposed to be simple witness and all he's supposed to say is just confirm that he's the landlord at this house. And then he goes up and he's like, yeah, I went to that house, pulled open the fridge, and all there was a plate of cookies in there. So I ate one, then I started feeling really funny. So I called my son and he had to take me to the hospital. It turns out there was marijuana in them cookies. And I drove all the way to the hospital. And everybody in the courtroom's dying. We're crying, laughing at this guy who's just he can't hear anything. So the DA is trying to like be like, no, sir, stop, please stop, because it's all on the record now.
And meanwhile, there's a man who's on trial for false murder, and he's like, God damn it,
yeah,
fuck.
Exactly. I mean, it wasn't our witness. That was the DA's witness.
That's amazing.
But it still is hilarious.
So you work with the DA sometimes and the defense? No, always the defense.
Always defense. Yeah.
Okay. The DA would never hire you.
Never. No, I'm just kidding. No, they probably would.
What's this case that sticks with you the most, and why?
There's definitely quite a few. I think like the cases though that really stick with me a lot, they're in the wrongful death category, which is like personal injury. Mm-hmm. And basically it's like those cases, it's where somebody's either severely injured or they are killed, but there's not a crime involved, but there is an entity that's at fault for that. Like for instance, like I worked a case where there was a couple sitting in a car at a stop sign, semi-truck runs straight through the stop sign going like 40 miles per hour, hits them dead on, dead instantly.
Jesus Christ.
And then it becomes a question of like, well, what happened? And a lot of people don't know this, but in any kind of like car accident, it doesn't matter the size of the vehicle, there's computers underneath usually the driver's seat. And so when a accident reconstruction expert comes, usually from like a CHP, highway patrol, or they come in, they pull that computer, and it has all of the analytical data from anything you've done in the car. It can tell you whether you had your seatbelt on, whether you did depress the brakes, even if they didn't work, which in this case, that's what happened. The driver was trying to depress the brakes, and they didn't work.
The truck driver.
The truck driver. And then it becomes a question of, okay, well, was the truck did it get its maintenance? Did the company know that it needed maintenance?
Yeah.
Did anybody say anything?
Because the driver avoid it.
And it turned out that it was the company. They knew that the truck was faulty. They knew that it needed the maintenance. It had been requested like 8 months prior. So like those are the kinds of cases that all work, and it is really, really difficult, and it's obviously never fun sitting down with a family and showing them photos of their loved ones. But at the same time, it's like, it's really fulfilling to be somebody who can help in that situation, because I mean, one of the ways I like to describe being a private investigator as well is it's also, we kind of exist in this gray area where when institutions fail you, when institutions that are supposed to protect you in everyday life, whether it's police officers, whether it's hospitals, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, they fail you and you don't know where else to turn and you don't know where else to go. That's where we kind of exist and come into this space where we can provide solutions, help, anything in order to get somebody, I mean, out of the worst situation they've been in their lives. And it's a pretty cool feeling.
No, I mean, it's not only fascinating, but it's like you actually are doing good most of the time, it seems like, because these people need help. And the system that you described earlier was just a mess, because as you said, it's chief, it's cops, it's under DAs, paralegals, lawyers, attorneys, and lost in all that shuffle, people have multiple caseloads. So even if they hire private department, I'm sure things just get completely lost.
It still is way better. I mean, because you're getting a private attorney, you're getting somebody who they know what they're doing.
Right.
They have their own practice. They have had years of experience in like actual trial experience. And I mean, a public defender's office, it's like they might have literally hundreds of files on their caseload. So they're just appearing in court and they will come with a stack of these things. And they're just like, all right, next one. They don't even, I mean, they don't have time to read everybody's case. They don't have time to go through all of it. Then when you get private, you know, practice people like myself, it's like, I'm literally going to the jail to go visit them like multiple times a week, where we're sitting down face to face. I'm going through a full biographical information about where they grew up, how they grew up, what happened. We're going through all these witnesses. We're, I mean, really leaving no stone unturned. And I mean, I've had people who, they know they're innocent, but they've looked at me like dead in my face and have just been like, I just want you to know, no matter what happens, I appreciate you. And like, I appreciate what you did for me.
Do you have people who went to prison you think are innocent?
Yeah. Yep.
That's brutal.
Yep. But I even like, so I volunteer time for that as well. So like, I love doing like post-incarceration work, and like that's where you're trying to help people who are like wrongfully incarcerated. But I'm a panel investigator for the California Innocence Project. And so that's like the California specific one, but it's the Innocence Project.
Yeah.
Which amazing organization. I mean, there's like some absolute savage like attorneys who volunteer their time for that, and it's pretty fucking cool.
I've been so I have this morbid fascination with prison documentaries, true crime documentaries and things. My biggest fear on planet Earth is going to prison. I'm always afraid I'm going to get tricked into going to prison. So I'm a very safe driver. Yeah, because I've also seen those where like there's a completely innocent person and they get gaslit into it, signing something or admitting it, and then over time they just think that they did it. Even when like then they DNA and everything proves, and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. But it just gets spun.
You know what that is though?
What?
So it's a police interrogation technique.
Yeah.
It's called the Reed technique, and it was developed by a man, and his last name is Reed. He's actually still alive today.
Fuck that guy.
I know. Hopefully we don't get sued for defamation, because he does that.
I'll bleep it out, you fat piece of shit. I'm assuming he's fat and bloated.
I mean, he developed this interrogation technique, and it works to a fault.
Yep.
But essentially the whole technique is you're just sitting there and you're pounding people with questions. There's like this 5-part piece to it. And one part of it is that you want people to make it seem like you're their friend. You're going to go right next to them. You're going to be like, it's okay. I understand.
Lean in.
I would have done the same thing too. Like, I get it. You were probably frustrated, you know. They were talking them back to you. They were doing all these things, and then you just stabbed them, right? You just did that. And they kind of lead them down this. They keep pounding it and pounding it and pounding it for hours and hours and hours and hours. And then they give them these like fail-safe ways to get, all you got to do is just tell me and you can leave. That's all you got to do. And anybody will break after a period of time. I mean, you're in there for 20 hours. Yep. It's like, yeah, man, you fucking haven't eaten. You haven't slept. Nothing. And meanwhile, they're just cycling in different people to keep coming in and just keep pressing. And it's like eventually you're just going to be like, yeah, that's what I did. And then you sign the paper with your written declaration, confession.
Yeah, and you're done.
And then you're done because you signed the confession.
No, during that interrogation, could they just say, I'm not speaking anymore, I need an attorney?
They can. Yeah. And legally, the police officer needs to stop, but shit happens all the time.
Yeah, and I've seen them. You've probably heard of it, but there's that YouTube channel that was big for a while called JCS Psychology. If you haven't, check it out. But it's an attorney, I believe, or a criminal psychologist who reviews the footage of interrogations from cases and then will pause it and be like, what the detective is doing here is leaning in. He's doing this. Now he's going to rotate out. Now he's going to ask this question. This is how you trick someone. Or then they have the psychopaths where like the technique doesn't work at all because the person is literally dead inside.
Yeah.
And how they twist that, I've seen that with the written things. So if I get charged today in a case that you've seen, and they pull me in, what is your recommendation the moment you get charged? Not even charged, I guess, just pulled in.
First thing you say,
yeah,
I am activating my right to remain silent.
Okay.
And then there's okay.
Because I know people get nervous sometimes because they do that, and they'll be like, you can call an attorney in, but I'm telling you, it's going to look bad. Like, if you're innocent, you don't need an attorney.
Yeah, they'll do whatever, and just be like, yeah, if we clear this whole thing up, just talk to me. But the thing is like, you're already in this insane, heightened sense of a crazy situation. You're in shock. You're just sitting there going, holy shit, like, this is real now. I'm in handcuffs. I'm in this police station. I don't know what to do anymore. And that's why it's just like, shut up. Remain silent. Get an attorney.
Because it seems to be also that what happens to some people is they don't understand the severity. And that by the time you're in an interrogation room, shit's on. This is not like you have a conversation, you go home, and it's over.
Yeah.
So it's like by the time they're in there, this is a process.
Yeah,
it could
but
go
they
on
will
for
tell
weeks or
you
months.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll tell you, like, yeah, you just talk to us. We're going to clear this whole thing up. You're going to go home in like an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you don't say anything, and the thing is too is like, most of the time you're not getting arrested right after something happened. It's like months later, sometimes even like a year or more later, and they're like, where were you on like July 10th at 4 p.m.? You're like, I don't know, dude.
Yes. I was murdered. Fuck. Shit. I was not murdering. I was doing anything else. Yeah, okay. So I'm glad we cleared that up. So basically, folks, just shut the fuck up. Anyone who knows me in my life knows that I get physically rock hard from fucking over the government, the IRS, and big companies, and I'm very good at it. So, like, I help people get out of parking tickets. I'm currently in a dispute with a debt collector. It's been going on for 10 months. I will never pay you. I tell them that. My girlfriend has seen it. My friends have seen it. I fought an unemployment virtual case in my underwear in a motel in San Francisco when we were touring because I definitely wasn't scamming unemployment from the state of Ohio. And I'm very nice to the customer reps. I'm always nice because I know it's not them. I always say it. I'm like, it's not you. It's the company.
Yeah.
But I will literally never pay you. And I have gotten away with it more times than I can count. Yeah. My biggest one was $2,500. I got out of it completely.
There you go.
I broke a lease early, and I was like, I just can't. I got to move home, blah, blah, blah. I was in Tennessee. And they were like, we totally understand. We're sorry about that. But, it is to break a lease. It is $2,500. And I said, I totally understand. I literally will never pay you. They stopped calling me. Because you have to understand what people... Same with this. Like, everyone should understand... 9 out of 10 people do give in. It's overwhelming, it's uncomfortable, and they think you have to.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do anything. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's things you have to do. I mean, pay your taxes.
You don't have to, but
You don't
the
have
thing
to
is,
do
is that there's consequences to anything.
I know.
So you gotta like weigh it out. But for those kinds of things, I'm all for it. I'm
Go to
like,
battle, dude.
That's part of the way. That's one of the main reasons why I'm a private investigator. I'm like,
Definitely.
oh, you want to fight unemployment? You want to fight social services? I'm down. That sounds dope.
It's unfair.
You want me to fuck an insurance company? I will.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
I can hear the passion. That's true. I totally I will help friends go to bat against these people are heinous. They don't have your best interest in mind ever.
Yep.
You are a toy to them.
Yep.
And your $200 and your time is more valuable to you than their stockholders. They'll be just fucking fine.
Yep.
So Public Storage in New Jersey, I'm never paying you that $800. Literally never. They tried to offer me a plea deal. They said, well, you can pay 50% today and we'll drop it. And I said, how about this? I'm not paying you a thing. I'm not paying you half. I'm not paying you 10%. I'm not paying you 5%. I'm not doing this. It's the principle of the matter. It's going to affect my credit score. Anyways.
I'll never own a home, but
my credit score is an 820. It was an 820 not too long ago. I know. And then it plummeted to 650. But now my battles, I'm winning again. I'm about 730.
There you go.
So I'm fighting back.
There you go.
Speaking of fighting, so 8 years of PI, 3 years of comedy, and then you also went into the pro circuit. Was it AmPro or pro?
Pro.
Is it different? Okay, so pro. And were you doing kickboxing or Muay Thai?
Muay Thai.
Really? Mm-hmm. Specifically Muay Thai?
Muay Thai.
There you go, dude. Muay Thai is, when people ask the difference between kickboxing and Muay Thai is better. It's more violent, but also in kickboxing, usually you can't kick below the knee or the waist. I can't remember most of the time.
A lot of kickboxing is very different, too. There's different rules for, like, everything and everywhere. It's very strange.
It's very strange. I think you get pointed differently. And then also, kickboxing usually has more combos and a little bit more movement, where Muay Thai is, like, harder shots standing in the pocket.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just kind of, like, stylistic as well. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, generally, like Muay Thai, they call it, the art of 8 limbs, because you're using knees and elbows, which those are the main like defining factors outside of kickboxing. Whereas kickboxing is just, you're just kicking and punching.
Yep.
But
some of them do the clinch, but it's not the same at all, and a lot of it's a boxing clinch.
Yeah,
which is different, which is a rest most of the time, and then dirty boxing internally. Whereas a Muay Thai clinch is a sweep and or a brutal series of knees until you can learn to get out of a clinch. Which is how you usually learn.
That's how you usually learn. But
so you did what, 4 fights?
I did like over 20 as an amateur, and then 4 fights pro.
Okay. And this, how old were you when you were doing it?
I started when I was 15.
Okay.
And then my last fight was when I was 25.
And did you train the whole time in San Luis Obispo?
Yeah.
And so is the gym still around? Do you still know the guys?
Yeah.
You should check them out for you. Do you train? Do you spar at all right now? Yeah.
No. I just like do it for like fitness, and like I'll teach people and stuff. But yeah, I just do mainly like bag work, and just kind of like shadow box, do all that fun stuff, all the conditioning parts of it, and just kind of try and keep the skills sharp.
Yep.
But I have no intention whatsoever of ever punching somebody or getting punched in the face ever again.
Yeah. Again, it's the biggest thing that people don't understand who have never done a combat sport, is also like the people who do are usually the least likely people to get into an altercation at a bar or in the street or something, because it's the worst thing on planet Earth. You never actually want to be in like a true fist fight. It's very stupid. And as one of my trainers used to say, he was like, it ends in the hospital or jail, and it could be for either of you.
Yeah, no, it's fucking ridiculous, man. Like, I remember, like, when I was in the height of fighting, like, me and my friends were, like, going out to, like, bars and stuff, and, like, some of my friends, one of them, they, like, they got into it with this other group of dudes, and then we started leaving, they saw us, like, in the street, and then everybody's in the street, and one of my friends is stepping up, and he's like, we're gonna take you guys. I see it right in the middle of all of them, and I look at the other group of guys and I go, hey, this idiot, point at my friend, this idiot's never thrown a punch in his life. I'm like, I know that for a fact. I'm like, he's an idiot. They're all idiots. They can't fight. We're so sorry. We're leaving. And I'm just like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna get your asses kicked.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
we're fucking. Let's go home. Like, fucking idiots, dude.
Yeah, nobody has ever left a fight and been like, I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I'm just like,
that went well. You're just home with your friends, like, that went well, right, guys?
oh my god. But yeah, like now I just talk. Now I talk about it on stage because I'm like, talk about how I used to fight, but like I was never supposed to be there because it's like, dude, no joke. I wanted to do like drama as a kid. I wanted to be
Same.
in theater. Like that's what I wanted to do.
Same. Sometimes I still regret it, but yeah.
Oh, I regret it all the time.
Well, that's all, but that's you do comedy now.
Yeah, now it's like get to do the performative thing, which is great. Hopefully someday I can like get big enough as a comic that I can just like sneak my way into like a Broadway production.
Yeah, that's well. I think
Just as like a background. Like I'm not saying like I'm gonna be the lead or some shit or
Right.
like get a solo, but I just want to be a background actor or something. It'd be cool.
Can you dance?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd be part of the cast at least.
Right. Yeah, you can always
Send
do,
me a scrubby little oiled up greased dude in like Les Mis.
I was literally
Just
one time
like-
Les Mis. Yeah.
Or one of the guys who's just pulling the chains in the beginning, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see you getting a lot of the grunt work jobs.
Yeah, I would do it just to be like, yeah, I was in a Broadway production.
Well, that counts as a credit too, as a comedian.
Hell
As seen
yeah.
on Broadway. Seriously.
I wish. Hopefully someday that could be one of my credits.
Credits in comedy are the funniest things, especially in New York, because most
Oh,
people
it's
have to have a
hilarious.
credit. And like, yeah, my buddy's as seen on, I think it's not Showtime, Cinemax or whatever the fuck, and he was like an extra for like 12 seconds. It's like, yep, that's it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I can't do it. I can't make those credits like that.
You can always do sketches and stuff. I think that's a good creative way for comics who are good actors too, is to do sketches with people and put them on Instagram.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
But also, probably a good segue. I produce shows, and I swear to God, speaking of credits, if anybody ever sends me a list of your credits, and Kill Tony is on one of those lists as a credit, you ain't getting booked.
You heard it here first, folks.
Congratulations, you got your name drawn out of a hat.
I love that.
You performed for a minute, and you got made fun of probably on not even a comedy show, on a weird who the fuck knows what it even is at this point.
So I have a lot of respect for Tony Hinchcliffe because he's from Akron, which is where LeBron grew up. It's about less than an hour east of Cleveland, where I'm from, from the west side of Cleveland. I started comedy when I was 20, and then I stopped, finished college, and did everything else. And I didn't touch a microphone for almost 9 years.
Damn.
Then I jumped into it basically full time. So cumulative, I've probably been doing comedy about 2 years, maybe less. So I was so bummed about not doing comedy in the back of my head and all the things that I had pushed off. You know, we talked about the drama thing. I think a lot of people who are creatives, it's so unrealistic for us in our heads, whether it's a confidence issue or a practicality issue where we're just like, well, that couldn't happen. And it's also easier to do other things, at least for me. Like, I didn't give a shit if I lost my tech sales job because I didn't care. You know, if you were like, I'm the best tech salesman, I'd be like, great, dude, be one. You know? But if you looked at me and you're like, I'm the best comedian, I'd be like, you're not, and now let's go up on stage.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew that I cared about this. And that's scary, right? When you do something you really care about.
Yep.
Failure is very scary. So I didn't really know shit about Kill Tony. And then I started watching it, and I was like, this is one of the worst things I have ever seen. It's just guys with Asperger's going up, doing dog shit material. It's like their third open mic.
Yeah.
And, yeah, Tony rightfully destroying them and making soundboard sounds.
Yep.
And that whole Austin scene, I'm going to visit Austin at the end of the month, so I will reserve judgment, but it just seems to be, because I've met some people who moved there because they were like, comedy's too woke nowadays, and I was like, you're not good.
Listen, I gotta be able to say the F word.
Yeah, exactly.
That rhymes with maggot.
Yeah.
And I gotta be able to say retard still.
It's not the audience. It's not me that's wrong. It's all of the audiences that's wrong. And now I need to move to Austin because I'm just too edgy.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some very legit Austin comedians. Like, I have a couple buddies who live there. They're very, very funny. So shout out Brandon Lejeune, shout out Rafa Camargo.
Yeah, please put me on. I might be there at the end of the month.
They're great comedians, and yeah, I'll connect you with those peeps.
Yeah, my one comic, Omri, he's doing the Creek and the Cave because we had met some people. He already did Austin. He liked it a lot. And that's the thing. We had talked to some big LA comics when we were touring, very, very well established ones, way out of my league. And one of them was based because I was talking to them at the time. So I only moved to New York last year. And I moved with one suitcase. I was going to be there for a week, and I was going to do 2 open mics a day. And I said, if I can't do that, then I'll just go home. And if I can't get booked, I'll go home. I didn't realize how tough the scene was, but I managed to get booked. So then I ended up staying there for a year, except for my 2-month tour and some other stuff. So I'm not beholden to New York. So then I thought maybe I come to LA, maybe I go to New York. And from talking with them, they were like, you can do comedy anywhere right now, as long as you have social media and you're active. So that's why we do the tour. But anyways, we'll check out Austin. So San Luis Obispo comedy, you've been doing it for 3 years. I know you go out of the city, but from having traveled, smaller cities get slept on. I mean, what did we just talk about? New York, Austin, LA. Yeah. And comedy is very different in smaller towns. Not that San Luis Obispo is a small town.
No, it's definitely a small town.
How many people live here?
We have like 44,000.
How much of that is a fucking college?
Pretty much all of it.
Dude, it's like it's just professors here and like surfboard. Who has a job here, by the way?
I know.
We've been in midday.
I know.
This is just like Santa Cruz.
I know.
Santa Cruz was such a joke. I would go to Santa Cruz. Nobody worked.
Yep.
The apartments are obscenely expensive.
Yep.
And then I would talk, and it'd be a guy and his girlfriend. He'd be like, "Yeah, like I work at the coffee shop. My girlfriend waxes surfboards twice a week." And I was like, "What? How? Like, what do you fucking do?"
It's the same thing in any California coastal town.
It is.
You get a small coastal town, whether it's Santa Cruz, here, Santa Barbara. And it's funny because, like, I talk shit even though, like, I'm in the same boat where, like, I'll go to Costco and I'm like, I try and, like, time it out where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go there at, like, 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Yep. There's just everybody there. I'm all, what the... Does nobody here have a fucking real job?
I need to investigate this.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's like the way it goes. But here it's like, dude, that's why so many companies and so many people end up moving because there's no real opportunity for growth. It's like you have to have very specific types of jobs that are kind of like you're able to do that anywhere that you want to. Otherwise, it's like there's no industry for any kind of real business to come here.
Yep. Unless you're remote.
It's also very expensive, so it'd be really stupid too.
But that's what was so wild. It's like having lived in Santa Cruz, Monterey, been in Santa Barbara, been in SLO, you see the prices, you see the cost of living, and then you see the entire center of the town active at 1 p.m. on a Monday. And I'm like, are you all house sitting like I am for free? All right, so comedy here. You're a producer. I mean, you've helped establish the scene. Talk about a little bit 3 years ago what the scene was like compared to what it is now. I should also mention 3 years ago it would have been around COVID. So
I started like right before COVID.
Okay.
Like immediately right before. I was probably like 3 months in, and then like COVID happened.
Very nice.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
But no, it was fine. Like, so yeah, when I started here, and even just to backtrack a little bit, I really related to what you said earlier, where it's like, being a stand-up comedian was like one of the first things I ever wanted to do in my life. Like, I remember being like, once I figured out that was a real thing, that's what I wanted to do. I'm like, I want to make people laugh. Like, I remember one of the first memories I've ever had in my life. Like, I remember being very, very young, had to been like 3 or 4 years old, but I remember like the moment where like I said something, my family laughed at it, and there was like this instant light bulb where I was like, holy shit, I love this feeling, and I never want it to end. And then from then on, it was on. Like, anytime, like, I remember, like, being a kid, being in my room, like, all right, you're going to go out there. What are you going to say? What are you going to do to make everybody crack up? Like,
just slow
planning these things. But, then I think it was something I always wanted to do, and because there was so much, I cared so much about it, and it was so this precious thing, it took me a long time to actually nut up and do it. And that's, I mean, I'd probably been like writing jokes and thinking about it and doing stuff for like 3 years before I actually went to an open mic. But yeah, then I went to my first open mic, little brewery here called Libertine. They have this like little small room, and I went there, and I remember just thinking like, cool, man, you're gonna go, you're gonna eat shit, you're gonna suck for like 3 years. Everybody here is probably amazing. They're all gonna hate you because you're the new guy. You gotta prove yourself at some point, but it's fine. Like, I'm just gonna suck for 3 years, then I'll probably get good after that. But I got there amazingly. Like, everybody was like super nice. They gave me like a good spot on the lineup. They said like, hey, it's his first time. I had like a really, really good first set. But at the time, I'm like asking questions now and like trying to figure things out. And I figure out like, oh, there's only one open mic. So that means that immediately, like even 2 weeks, like at the time, like I'm 2 weeks in. It's like my second week doing a 5-minute spot. And I go, wait, there's only one open mic? So I can only do 5 minutes a week? Oh, I'm never going to get good. I'm like, I'm never going to go anywhere. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, I'm doing the math, and I'm like, there's no way.
Yep.
So that was kind of the first thing of like, well, why wouldn't people come here? Like, why wouldn't comedians come here? Like, I've always been a fan of comedy, too. So, like, I can see what comedians, where they're going. So then that just sparked in my head. And, like, I've always had a good business sense. Like, I worked for a lot of, like, big companies and stuff, and worked in hospitality. And so I was just like, you know what? Like, I should just start a comedy company, and I'll run shows, and I'll run my own open mic, so I can have my own weekly open mic where I can get good too, and that's more time for everybody else. And then it just became this thing of just building the scene into something. I mean, because I saw it could happen. I'm like, why wouldn't anybody want to come here? We have good audiences. There's great venues. Like, I could see this being a place where somebody would want to film a Netflix special. Like, why wouldn't they? Yep. And so that was kind of the goal and like what I saw in the future. And cut to now, it's just like everything is really blown up. There's a lot of other production companies. There's a lot of other, you know, like local people who like run their own like little brand of comedy. But all the shows are doing great. Like, we're getting way bigger, better comedians who are coming through. Even for like a lot of my shows, it's like people who like, they're club headliners. You know, they'll headline places like the Store and other places, and they come here to come do shows, and they're just like, I mean, people now where it's like they will rave about it. They're like, yeah, I told 3 other people at the Store last night in the green room. They're like, you got to go to Slow. You got to go see what's going down there. You know, it's sick. It's amazing. But yeah, it's all been part of this whole thing that I saw could happen. And luckily I've also had a lot of help from a lot of really amazing people who were willing to kind of like be part of that vision. And I've had like a lot of people who've not only like mentored me in comedy, but also just been great to help build the brand and just help build comedy here in general. But it's been really cool.
That's awesome. So you have, what days of the month right now are you doing the headline shows, the bigger headline shows?
So I do basically a 3-night run where I do a Thursday show at this place called Bang the Drum. Okay. It's a brewery, but they have like a full stage, built-in lighting. Like it's a great room. And when I first had kind of like wanted to do the show there, somebody else had been running a show there, but I think for me, I bring in a different, you know, I got really good at just like graphic design. I got really good at making just the branding things and all of the business side of it. So I kind of approached that person and was like, hey, let's just co-produce it together. We'll put it under like my brand. You had to be their comedy. Let's like scale this thing up, bring out better comedians, because it's an amazing room. I mean, it you could fit like 100 people in there. And I'm like, there's no reason why we can't get bigger comedians to come out here. I mean, if this room's filled, it's amazing. And luckily we've like packed out every single show that we've had there so far. And it's been really great shows. So we do that on Thursday. I do another show on Fridays here in the area. And then one of my buddies, he runs Don't Tell Comedy here in Slow.
You have a Don't Tell Slow?
Mm-hmm. And then I help with that as well.
That's so nice.
And we've just been now we're like really picking up steam on those shows.
How often does Don't Tell do shows here?
Right now it's monthly, like
Really?
once a month, but we're picking that up. Like it's gonna be, those shows are gonna be a lot more now. Like they're probably gonna be at least 3 a month, if not maybe even like up to 5. But those shows they've sold out in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, Don't Tell kills.
Yeah,
Their social media presence is just second to none, really.
Yep.
For produced shows.
Yep.
Shout out, Don't Tell. They'll shout you out every single goddamn time. All right, so yeah, that's plugging those. You're doing a show tonight.
Mm-hmm.
How many shows do you do a week right now, do you think? How many spots?
I probably average about like 5 or 6 a week.
Very active.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when you said the open mic too, one thing I thought of is in New York. So I kind of did it backwards. A lot of people recommend that you get started somewhere else and go to New York. I immediately went to New York. But the beauty of New York is you can do, I mean, if you felt like it, as long as you can get there on time, 3 to 5 mics a day, every single day. Excuse me. So, but I think it helped because the competition there is so fierce that I did bomb at mics early on. My first one did fine. Second one did really good. I remember the third, so horrific. I've still never gone back to that open mic, which is ridiculous. No one remembers me. No one knows who I am. And now I've done 30-minute headline spots. I've toured, and I won't go back. I think I'll freeze. I think it's like the thing you just can't overcome.
That's
It'd be
so
like
funny.
You're like middle school bully, then you spend your life lifting and fighting, and you see him, and he's just a bald alcoholic, and he's like, "Hey, man," and you're like, "Yo!"
Just immediately pees your pants.
Yeah.
You're just like, no.
Start scream crying. You're like, "Oh!" But it just wail. Ah! So yeah, I haven't done it. Yeah, I think that's. I like it here. I'm going to be here for a month. I'm excited, and I think what I'm hoping is we'll get a better idea of how you produce your shows. I'm excited to grab my camera and film some of the ones that you're doing, just like from start to finish. See some more of your comedy and some of the locals. We did the open mic last night. We did. I had a lot of fun there, and I know you guys said it was slower, but that's the other thing in New York. You know, most of your open mics are comics.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then when we started touring, we saw, you know, some of those, like Bozeman, Montana, which is amazing. We did Last Best Comedy. It was a super cool club. We did 2 shows there. Always recommend them. But their open mic had like 40 audience.
Yep.
Because they just don't have anything. So you have public here, and that's so much more beneficial. But it did crack me up a little. I was telling my partner this because this was her first time actually seeing me do comedy. So I'd met her in LA during the tour, but we were bouncing around long distance.
Yeah, that's so funny, man. It's like she's never seen it, and then you're like, come see me do this open mic for 6 people.
I know. I literally, and I told her, I was like, don't. And she, you know, we're partnered on this too. But yeah, I've like, listen, before I've done this in front of 200 people. And I was like, so this, you know, she's like, I don't give a shit about anything you're saying. But yeah, so it was funny her seeing that. But what I told her after is with some of the comics last night, again, had good talks with, you know, a bunch of them. But you can see the locals' atmosphere with some of them. And this is, trust me, this is not to denigrate anyone doing comedy at all. But having toured, you have comics who are going to be hobbyists, which is awesome. You have comics who are going to try to be paid. You have comics who are trying to be paid and never make it. That doesn't matter. Do comedy, that's great. But the one thing I saw at that mic, which you won't see in most bigger New York mics, is referencing people's previous sets because they're friends and still getting a laugh. And I always just want to tell them and be like, you do understand that when you're up there, you have 5 minutes. And if your goal is to do comedy, that 5 minutes needs to be jump up and do your material. Because if you're doing stuff that works with your buddies, you're in for a rude awakening when you do a real paid show. And that's not an insult at all. It's something we all have to learn. But some of the stuff that works at a mic in a forgiving environment, you'll do on stage and you'll be like, oh.
Well, that's the thing, man, is like you start seeing that, and especially like, because it is super important as a comic, like try and get out to different scenes as much as you can. Even if like you're going to go and try and get on a mic that you know is going to be decent, and it's like an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours, make the trip, do it. Because those are things you start to figure out. Those are things you start to learn. Whereas, like, even for me, I'm just like, I think I hit a point, even at like a year and a half, like 2 years in, where I was just like, why are people still doing their AIM material at a mic? Why are people still doing like their regular jokes with no difference to it whatsoever at an open mic?
Yeah.
Like, no, man, run your new stuff. Even if you this is where you're supposed to bomb.
Yep.
Don't do it at a show. Don't run your same material for 15 years.
Well, it's so, you know, it's so bizarre too, because we'd had talks like this in New York, and I know some comics who have a really excellent 5 and have a pretty damn good 10, but they don't appear to write or experiment very much. And then there is famously, I know a touring comedian who he's been running the same hour for 15 years. And he's like, yeah, I've been making my salary off that same goddamn 60 minutes. But I'm obsessively hate my material, so I throw shit out. I have 45 minutes of rotational material I've used.
Yeah.
Is it cohesive for an hour? Fuck no. Is it all great? Absolutely not. But it's also, I think it takes you years to truly find your voice.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Bill Burr was doing one-liners and quick bits for 5-6 years.
Yep.
Before he became capable of, you know, the more rant, longer form material. You have to build a repertoire with your audience and some respect too.
Yeah.
So I throw shit out all the time, sometimes to my detriment, is that I'll go do way too new stuff. And last night, honestly, there wasn't a ton of new stuff, mostly because it was a new environment, and I just met everyone, and I was like, let me do some stuff that I know is going to work, just so I'm comfortable. And also my partner's here, and she's never seen.
Yeah.
You know, she's seen my clips and shit, and I was like, oh, what if I go up there and... I'm like, trans people, right? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm moving to Austin. So, but no, it was a blast. Anyways, what I was going to say is having done a million open mics across the country, which is why I continue to do this touring thing. Also, touring being a dirty word for some people is absolute dog shit. There's just so many people that, because social media is so popular, there's people who are headlining now that have been open micers for a year, but they have 2 million TikTok followers.
Yeah.
And guess what? Your TikTok skit doesn't work on stage, and you bomb for a reason. It's not the audience's fault, because you do shitty 20-second clips that pander to the absolute lowest common denominator, half of whom are too young to get into a club, and that's really easy.
Yeah.
Stand-up clips don't work as well.
Yeah.
So touring is, as you said, you should go to those other scenes and those other mics.
Yeah.
What works in New York doesn't always work other places. I learned that hard when I did a rural Ohio show, and when we did this casino, that was in Crescent City, California, just nowhere.
Yep.
It's not a place.
I know where it's at.
Okay, not a real place. It's the city from Silent Hill, is what it is. Everyone in the audience was Pyramid Head and dead nurses. It was just like, it was horrifying. That's where I met Jason Collins, who's been a huge help. He's an LA comic. He's a story guy. He's very, very good. Jason. So cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully see him in a couple weeks.
Know of him. I don't personally know him.
You should get him up here.
He's a very good comedian.
You should get him up here. He crushes. He could headline for 3 nights. He's a murderer. But yeah, I have enjoyed comedy on the road so much more. I appreciate meeting comics all over the country so much more. These conversations are so much more beneficial. And having to learn that material, because if you're in New York and you do a joke about the L, it's not going to work in San Francisco. Sorry, bud. And I had to drop jokes when I went to the casino, because I was like, that's a rural crowd. They're not going to laugh at my usual shit. Yeah. They're not going to love my chess master joke, because they've never played chess.
Yep.
No offense, Crescent City. Anyways.
Yeah, and that's like... Even though like I'm fairly new, like I'm only like 3 years in, but it's like I've had one of the greatest like luxuries that I've had with being able to like produce shows is that then I essentially get a lot of one-on-one time with like headliners, very, very good comedians who have been there, they've done that, they've been around for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. And I get to just pick their brain. So I get to learn a lot. I get to see how they work. I get to see how they do things. And that's been like a huge benefit, because then I get to implement that into what I do. And it's been such a like great thing. But like some of the best advice, and like I tell this now to like new comedians, where I'm just like, if you're going to go do a show somewhere you've never been before, get there early.
Exactly.
Go the whole day. Walk around.
Go to their
see
museum.
What the town is like.
Yes.
We'll go into a local spot.
Go
check
to the
out
bar.
The people.
Talk to a bartender.
Get to the venue early.
Yep.
Get there like an hour early.
Yep.
And just see the kinds of people that are coming in and out. Because then that's going to form what you're going to say on stage and like things you can make. And the pro move is like, you should probably have at least a minute on that town.
And that should be your opener.
And that's going to be your opener.
Yep.
You're going to talk about that town and make jokes.
Yep.
And immediately the people are going to fucking... You're going to pop that place open because they're like, holy shit, this guy knows us. Like, they fucking... Because it shows you care.
Exactly. If your opener... Unless you're, if you're fucking Mark Norman or something, you can do whatever you want. Also, his openers are about the local city. But so if you're some classic headliner, I'm a nobody, that's fine. In my opinion, if your opener is not about that city or the people, your experience there, you have failed. Because your job as a comedian, your job is to justify the ticket price. Nico White told me that. He's a very good comic in New York. But your job is to entertain that crowd. And you should have respect for them. And when you come out, every audience, unless you are huge, has a little anxiety over whether or not they're going to like you.
Yep.
And that first minute is crucial.
Yep.
And if you come out and you're a douchebag the whole set. And if you come out you're a loser the whole set. So if you're a very, very attractive comedian, don't talk about how you're a schlub. Nobody's going to give a shit. If you're a very ugly comedian, you could be a little angrier. That's just the reality. Like, you either have to dress who you are, what you look like, or what that town is. And the best move is the town. Every time.
Yep.
And then the other thing so my partner noted this last night, is she saw that I was writing notes down when other comics were up. And she was like, why do you do that? And I didn't even think about it, but what I do, even at open mics, but every show, when I have comics before me, if I think of something to riff off, then I write that down.
Yep.
Because then you can go up and address an earlier comic. You're not insulting that comic ever. Don't do that. That's fucking hack. Don't insult the audience in general. Don't insult another comic. But when you can go up, you can just be like, blank said this on that, and then it's a quick... It's very easy to do. It's much easier to transition than coming up and just doing your traditional opener, which can be awkward.
Yeah.
So... Yeah. All right, you want to plug anything else? that was fun. I try to keep it at like an hour. I can always do these for like 2 hours, but
yeah, no, that's perfect.
That's what we do. So we've got... I'm here until the 9th. We've got a lot of stuff going on. You have shows coming up, but... What else do you want to say to the people, to the SLO, to the world?
Never talk to the cops. If you get in trouble, call me, get you out of a murder, anything you want.
Nice.
Also out of insurance claims. I'm going to help Dennis in here too.
Fuck
We're going to get it.
Public storage in New Jersey. Suck
Public
my
storage.
Cock. Yeah.
You're getting 2 cocks for the price of 1.
Yeah,
all
buddy.
right.
I will fight the shit out of you.
I don't believe in violence anymore, but I will fuck you up.
I told them, I was literally like, I will pay an attorney $5,000 before I give you $800. Which is that's a bluff.
Yeah.
I can't afford that. I'm homeless.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, wink. Thank you, housesitters.com. All right, Ernest, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm comedian Ernest. Follow me on Instagram. You see all my shows in there. And also, You Had to Be There Comedy. You can go on our website, catch the shows, or Instagram. You Had to Be There Comedy. Just at You Had to Be There Comedy. That's it.
Perfect. And this is going to stay on the No Sleep Tour network, but this new chapter is called Insert Town Here, which is where Lisa and I are doing more local stuff, but she is working right now. She's the breadwinner. So I've got this in the bag. Also, we're making them sweet, sweet Ukrainian refugee bucks that she gets every month from the state of California. Yeah, buddy.
Hell yeah, man.
High on the hog, I say. All right, y'all. Thank you very much. I'm going to hit this